So I'm Olivia Mendoza. I'm the recently appointed executive director of the ACLU Colorado. And it is really just my great honor and privilege to have been selected to come into this role and work alongside these incredible professionals who really fight for our civil rights and our civil liberties. And the reason why I feel that way, I truly do feel like it is an honor. It has a lot to do with my own lived experience. And I came to this country as undocumented and lived as an undocumented child for most of my life. I was 13 years old when I began the process to become a U.S. citizen, and finally completed that process when I was 21 years old. So I graduated from middle school, high school, and college before I was able to, be bestowed the ability to become a U.S. citizen. And I think what stuck with me in that experience is it really catalyzed in my heart how much there are people out in the world that fight and advocate for others without ever knowing them. Like, no one knew me. I was this little farm girl. I lived in Wyoming, and here were advocates, policy legislators, and policy advocates that really were trying to fight for immigration reform. And I think that catalyzed something inside of me that really has moved me to always fight, always be representing and working on issues for and by my community. And that is what has brought me here. My own lived experience, and I think the true experience of this country, when you really understand and read and know the history of this country, is that immigrant rights are human rights. That is, in fact, the story of so many individuals that have come here and sought out the American dream. And we were a beacon for that. And that was how our nation really has grown and developed, and seeing some incredible things that happen in this country. You almost always can trace it back to immigrants. And to be quite honest with you, unless you're Native American, you have a history of immigration in your family. And so I don't think it's about just being immigrant rights. I absolutely think that is an important issue for us to be leading on and advocating on behalf of, but it's because that is a human right, and we care deeply in this organization and myself personally with my own story about fighting for that right and those protections. And I think now more than ever, with this administration really attacking and putting front and center and questioning the ability of individuals to immigrate here and to have a full life in this country, it is clear that more than ever we need to be fighting for those protections. I mean, all you have to do is really turn on the news, open up any social media app, and you see the images. You see the images on your screen, families being ripped apart, communities being terrorized. It is almost unbelievable that it is 2026 in America, and those are the images that we see. And so I think that is a huge call to action, partly because we know that all of that has been happening for many, many months and years beforehand. It is now making it onto our screens, and we can see that and see what is happening as a country, as a nation, and be shocked and bereaved to see that, to witness that. But it isn't unique. It isn't just this one moment. It isn't just this one state. It isn't just this one effort. It is a constant attack on immigrants. And so I think because of that, this is why we are really called to fight and work in this space. I think the other big piece that's concerning is sort of the unabashed, almost proud approach that the Trump administration has in their totalitarian tactics. The streets are just filled with fear, and that is something, again, that it is not who this country should be. And we have to fight to protect every individual in Colorado. And I think that one of the things that feel most important to me is really making sure that our communities feel safe and prepared, right? We want to be an institution and an organization that is prepared to respond if and should things escalate here in Colorado, and we do that in partnership with community, with our coalition partners. But I don't ever want to be caught flat-footed in response to this administration. I think our role is everywhere. We are an organization that is well equipped to fight in the courts, in the streets, and at the Capitol. Since the Trump administration has taken office, we have filed 7 lawsuits, and a few of those have already been granted class certification, which is a huge bar, but really shows you how egregious the behavior is. So definitely, fighting in the courtroom against this administration. I also think the work of holding elected officials accountable for the decisions, the votes, the actions, the inactions that they take is another important and prominent role that our affiliate has taken on and continues to do so. And both at the Capitol here in Colorado, but also in DC. And I think honestly that one of the most important pieces is the education and engagement of community, because we are only as strong as our community is informed. If our community here in Colorado understands what we do, what we fight for, and what they can do and what they can fight for, that's where the power is. So I am excited about the ACLU Colorado really continuing this important work and integrating even more intentionally to see the impact reach across the state. Well, let me start by saying I think every election is pivotal. Elections matter, elections have consequences, and we are about to see that happen here in Colorado and across the country in the November 26th election. And one of the reasons why this election is so important is because we have really seen an unprecedented effort from the DOJ, from the Department of Justice, to request privacy and to request information from voters that is not typical. They're asking for, birth date, social security number, driver's license numbers. And while typically the Secretary of States do and can share publicly available information, this is a whole nother level of intrusion into the voters' privacy. And so I think here is an important reason for us to focus on paying attention to what's happening in the elections, because we will see the impact of those elections play out in policy, like the way the Department of Justice is now attempting to get this information from voters. And here at the ACLU of Colorado, of course, that is central to our belief that privacy matters and that individuals have a right to their privacy and the privacy of their information. And so we have filed alongside our national office representing Common Cause and other voters to intervene to stop this intrusion from the Department of Justice. One of the greatest things about living in Colorado, and there are a lot of great things about living in Colorado, but for me, one of the number one factors is that we already have the safest and most secure elections. And so our work in ACLU Colorado is to continue to uphold that standard and protect that system. There are safe and accessible elections here in Colorado where voters have multiple ways to cast their vote. You can go in person. There are people that want to go in person and vote on that day. You can fill out your ballot at home at your kitchen table and put it in the mail. Or, you can fill it out at home and then go and drop it off at a secured ballot location. This is a leading policy that Colorado has had in place for many, many years. And so our role is to continue to ensure that Coloradans have all 3 of those options. And our principles align with the national organization's principles around election. And they're, in my opinion, straightforward, simple, and reflective of our country. And that is that everyone who's eligible to vote should be able to vote. Elections should be free and accessible. And really, in compliance with our constitutional principles, all votes should count equally. What I really want people to understand about me in this role is my heart and my head are in this work. in fact, my whole soul is here in this organization. What the ACLU Colorado represents and the National ACLU organization represent is really a commitment to fighting for people, by people, with people, and that is who I am. My lived experiences have really brought me to this place, and I am so thankful to have the professional and education that I have, the professional experiences and the education I have, and putting all of that together. Honestly, I feel like I was created for this role and for this organization, because going back to my initial story that I shared with you, I know that there were people out there fighting for me when I was just a young girl. Teenage girl, didn't know what the world held for her. And I want to be that for every young girl and young boy and young individual out in Colorado that needs someone to be fighting for them. And I'm not doing it alone. I am doing it, lockstep and holding close to the values of this organization and aligned with this incredibly talented team that I have the pleasure of working with. Colorado continues to be an example for other states. We are a state that really does value and care for the rights of everyone that lives here in Colorado. And that is my hope for us to continue to be a beacon of freedom for individuals living here and seeing, policies and practices that allow Coloradans to not just survive, but to thrive in their time here in Colorado. Under my leadership, my hope is really to continue the great work that we have seen this affiliate do over the history of its lifetime, and really focusing on integration of our work across all of the teams and across the state of Colorado. I think there's so much opportunity to broaden our scope, broaden our reach, and really help Coloradans understand that the ACLU is here to fight for them. I really want to acknowledge the moment that we're in right now. We are living in a country and in a world where sometimes chaos and fear, it feels like that is what runs the day. And that is sometimes the goal and the whole purpose of what we see happening. And I just want to say that we here at the ACLU Colorado, we're not afraid. And we're ready to meet this moment, and we're going to meet it grounded in our values of integrity and freedom and our commitment to protecting civil rights and civil liberties, because that, in fact, is what makes this country great.